Hi there, we're on chapter 10. For this Excel and SPSS exercise, I thought I would show you a little extra trick in Excel. I think you might find it fun, as well as learning how to perform paired samples or independent samples, pardon me, independent samples, t-tests in Excel and SPSS, like we learned, for chapter 10, we learned about independent samples t-test. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. All right, and you'll notice for this week we got quite a collection of data files, and I think we're going to use every single one of them. All right, so just go ahead and click on all of those links for our data and let them go into your downloads folder. Don't open them yet. All right. And the next thing I want you to do is go ahead and find Excel on your computer and open a blank workbook. Mine's already there. If you don't see it, just start typing Excel and you'll see the app pop up. All right. Now I'm going to select blank workbook. Okay. And now we're going to use Power Query Editor again. And we're going to pull in our data for that. And let's just go ahead and do that before I explain to you what we're going to learn. So select the Data tab and get Data and from File. And this time, the two of our data sheets are CSV files. So we want to tell Excel that we're going to pull in a CSV file. So select that and go to your Downloads folder. And you'll notice something that says SSA cached and another one that's called, another data file that's called SSA CalFresh. These are actually actual data sheets from the Social Services Agency clients that collected CalFresh. This was a few years ago, so these data sheets are a little, actually, the data set here is a little less than it really is currently today. But you'll notice CalFresh has quite a few people in it. So once we download it, we'll find out how many rows there are, which means that's how many clients there are for these data sets. So I'm going to select first the cached one. All right. And hopefully you'll see the box pop up here. Just select load. You can also select transform data and it'll go into Power Query right away, but we just want to load it. All right. And you'll notice for cached, and this is in Social Services Agency, people who receive cached are people that are on CalWorks, foster care, adoption assistance. And you'll notice the program type here says CW, that's CalWorks. And you'll see some other ones are AA, that's adoption assistance, and FC is foster care. All right. And so this was 2022. And so back then we had almost 35,000 clients collecting cached. There's more now. So we also want to pull in another data sheet. And yes, you can pull in more than one table into Excel doing this. And so just go back to data, get data, and then we want from file and select that from CSV again. And now we're going to do CalFresh and load it. It takes a little longer. If you have a smaller computer, it might take a little while for that to load for you because there's in this data set, there is almost 260,000 rows, people. Believe it or not, CalFresh is more like 300,000 today. So it's increased quite a bit. So now we have two data files. I guess just to save time while we're importing data, we're going to go ahead and import yet another table, that other table, Excel table that we had for class survey. So go to your data tab again, get data from file. This time we're doing an Excel workbook. It's different. So you'll notice we can do different kinds of tables as well, or different data types all at once if we want to. So now I'm going to select from Excel, and I'm going to find that class survey Excel data and import. And now it wants to know, I think there might be several tabs on here. It wants to know which tab to use. Just select that one that is visible here, and then just load it. All right, we don't have as many rows for this one as we do as people that are collecting CalFresh. But okay, so we want this to open up in our Power Query. And really, it doesn't matter which one you choose to open up in Power Query. It will, they will all load for you. So I'm going to just click on Cached one, double click it. And you'll notice over here to the left, all three of those data sets are in this load. And so if I have Cached highlighted, that is what's going to be visible in this sheet here. If I can click on CalFresh, and then it will show me CalFresh, and same with the class survey. The two files that we're interested in right now are the ones that are from Cached and the CalFresh data sheets. And what we want to learn is how to append and merge data. So say I wanted to put together two data sets so I can do evaluations of those, you know, of that data all at once. I can do that. I can combine them. And what I mean is, I'm going to show you a visual here. There's two ways of connecting data sheets, or putting them together, I should say. You can append them and you can merge them. When I have two data sets, like we have in this example, Department A table and a Department B table, and if I wanted to put them together or append them, it would be where I am actually stacking them one on top of another, right? And when you do that, it's usually because both of your tables have similar columns, or at least some columns that are the same, and they are named the same. You can see employee name exactly the same in this one, as well as the other columns. So that is when you combine them by stacking them one table on top of another. Merging is when you are connecting them side by side. And the way it knows where to place the rows in one table in relation to another table is it's matching on some column that's an ID column or an identifier. We call these columns a table key or a column key or data key. And that's because if I'm a student at a school, they have a special number that is associated with who I am. You have a student ID. And if I was pulling in a class's students, I could connect them all based on their student ID in a data set, right? So for this example, it's very simple. The IDs are just 1, 2, 3, etc. here. And you can see that in order to merge, they're going to select the matching IDs from both tables in order to know what column to put them on. So the first table for the ID 1 matches with the second column's ID number 1. All right. And so they're sort of situated so that they're all side by side now. And we're going to do that here. And you'll notice in this table, we have a case number, which is an ID, a type of ID. We also have individual ID. It's another type of ID. And we have the program type. So that's telling us, what kind of program they're in. We have AG eligibility status, and we have the load date and the record type. For the other one, we have the same columns almost, right? Record type, case number, individual ID, program type. For this one, it's only food stamps. We have eligibility status. We do have an additional column of age in years, and then the load date. And we'll see what happens when we have a column that's not exactly the same as the other one after we append a table. So go ahead and in the Home tab, find the Combine collection of tools, and we're going to select the little arrow next to Append Queries. Now, if I selected Append Queries, the first option, it would alter the table that I have altered. It will append it and change this table, and it will include the cache aid, right? And I don't really want to change my original data table, so I'm going to select Append Queries as new. So it'll put the two tables together in an entirely new table. So I'm going to do that. And now since I had the CalFresh one highlighted, it selected that first table as CalFresh. And I have to tell it which table to append to it. So I'm going to select the other one, Cache Aid, and then click OK. All right, and now you can see it gave me a whole new table over here in the queries box where it says append one. And I'm going to go ahead and name that something new by going over here in the query settings on the right. And I'm going to name it CalFresh. I'm going to abbreviate it by putting CF and then ampersand and then so CA for cache. And then I'm going to put append. All right. And now we have our two tables stacked one on top of the other. And just to show you that that is what's occurring, if I select this, you should see all of, CalWorks, adoption assistance, etc., but it's not showing. Why is that? Well, if you recall, food stamps is a very large table. So it didn't, for the preview, it's not showing all of them. So I can hit load more, and now it's found all of the options that are in that row, and it is including the CalWorks foster care and adoption assistance, right? Okay. Something else you can do, which is a quick little tip, if I wanted to change something, some of the cells that are located in here, say I wanted FS to be spelled out, so I know what's the difference between that one and, like FC, that can be confusing. I can right click over that column, hit replace values. And so I would say change FS in the value to find to, for California, we call it CalFresh. So I'm going to name it CalFresh. All right. And then select OK. And I can do that for all the values here, right? So I'm going to right click on it here, replace values. AA was adoption assistance. And then we have, I'm going to replace values. We had FC as foster care. Ooh. Okay. And the last one, right click, replace values. What was it? Oh, CW for CalWorks. So CAL, CalWorks. We do spell it like that at the Social Services Agency. I've never asked why, but I believe it's because we encourage them to find work eventually. So, all right, so we're going to select OK. All right, and now if I select that, hit load more, you can see it's all been changed. Wonderful, right? Okay. All right, so the next one, let's learn how to do a merge. Go to merge queries and, oops, I have the wrong table selected, but no worries. Even if I have the wrong one selected, I can change it. And also, I also want to select as new, right? I want to keep my original data the same. So I want to create a whole new table. So select merge queries as new. And then I'm going to change that first table because I don't want to change the append one. I'm going to select the CalFresh one, SSA CalFresh. Then I'm going to select SSA Cached. And now I have to tell it where to merge the data. It has to be columns that will have some values that are the same, so it can add the additional columns from the second table. So the top one will be the first table. So if I'm visually picturing that, that top box will be it will be this table after the append, and the second box will be this table, right? That gets added next door to it, or whatever columns I choose to put with it. All right. And you'll see what I mean by that. So I'm going to select case number because I want to match all the matching case numbers from both files. All right. And then click OK. And if you scroll over to the right, all the way to the right, you'll notice it says SSA cache aid. That's that second table. It wants to know, well, okay, here's your first table over here. That second table, do you want to bring in all of the columns? And you can choose by clicking that double arrow box there. You can choose like, well, we matched on case number, so I really don't need case number to come in again. But maybe I want, all the rest of the columns from that second table to get added or merged to this table. And then I'm going to click OK. And you can see some cells are populated and some have null values. Null values doesn't mean it's blank, or it just means that the data for that column doesn't exist. So that means people over here in that CalFresh table don't also have CalWorks here. But if you see a populated cell, it means CalFresh people from over here also on this side are collecting CalWorks, right? All right. Now I can rename this one too. So over here in the query settings, I'm going to name that similarly. I'm going to put CF and CA merge. Okay. All right. So that's how you merge and append data in Excel. When I hit load, all of these tables, including the new ones, will show up in Excel for me. And we'll do that in a moment. But before we move on to that, I need to set up our last table for doing the independent samples t-test in Excel. And the thing is, we need to do a little bit of data manipulation to do that. If you remember, for an independent samples t-test, we are comparing two separate groups of people and their scores on some measure, right? So for an independent samples t-test, one variable needs to be categorical. That's our two groups. And the other variable that we need to do an independent samples t-test must be continuous. What does that look like in the data? Well, it would look like, first I would look for that categorical data that has two groups. And for our class survey data, we only have one variable that has two groups, and that's our gender at birth. We only have males and females options here. The other variable, continuous variable, could be, it could be their age, or it could be their answers to these questions about likelihood of getting rich. Remember, the options were on a scale of 0 to 100. What is the likelihood of you getting rich? That's what people were asked. And then they were asked on a scale of 0 to 100, what is the likelihood of others getting rich? And then we did same scale for the likelihood of doing well in this course and how they felt about that. I think we've already done a lot of comparison. And then we had a shyness score too, but I don't think I have that in this data set. But we're going to go ahead and see what our two groups, males and females, thought of the likelihood of others getting rich. Well, you can see the likelihood of others getting rich is numerical, it's continuous, but our gender has not been recoded in this particular data set, so we need to recode it. Go to Add Column, Conditional Column, because we're going to add a gender recode. Okay, so we're going to name it gender recode for the new column name. All right, and then in column name, find that gender at birth, and then put male. And make sure you capitalize that M, otherwise it will not find male in the data set. It will miss it. And we're going to give them ones. And we're going to add a clause, gender at birth equals, and what if, now you don't do this for your homework, but I just want to demonstrate what would happen if I did not capitalize the first letter the way it is in the original data. See, females and males are all spelled with capital first letter. Well, what if I forgot and I said female? Okay, and we'll give them twos. For you, go ahead and spell it correctly with a capital F. You don't have to do this. This is just for a demonstration. All right, I'm going to click OK. And you'll notice all my ones showed up, but I have a bunch of blanks. It missed those females. All right, so one great thing about Power Query is I can easily go back to a lot of these steps and fix them. And you'll notice this last step popped up here. I added that conditional column, and there's a dial next to it. I can click on that, and I can fix that spelling for female and capitalize the F, and then click OK, and voila, there's my twos. Alrighty? All right, go to the Home tab, and then click Close and Load. Might take a little while for this data to load. It's quite a bit of data now. If you think about it, we created a whole new table, whole new tables, I should say, when we merged and appended. Okay, so now for CalFresh appended, we have almost 300,000, and we do have over 300,000 for the merge. All right, and you can see what it looks like now, right, for the merge. Those that didn't have both CalWorks and CalFresh, the CalWorks side is blank. Those that had CalFresh and CalWorks, they are occupied. Like, so you see the food stamps here, and if I go over to here, they also have CalWorks. All right. All right, so what I want you to do is you can either highlight the online Psych 160 class survey down here, or you can find it down here in the tabs. You can switch between tables down here in the tabs, or you can switch between the tables by going over here in the queries and connections. All right, now that I'm on that online Psych 160 class survey, I want to go ahead and show you how to do the independent samples t-test in Excel. I'm going to scroll over to the end of my data. Oops. Oh, there we go. I don't know what happened here. Oh, that's so weird. It changed colors for me for some reason. A little bit of a glitch. I've never had that happen. That was weird. Okay, so now to do so, we need to go to that tool, that data analysis tool. And if you recall, if you don't have the button under your data tab all the way to the right here, if you don't see data analysis, you must go to File, go to Options, select Add-ins, select Analysis Tool Pack, go. Make sure that analysis tool pack is checked and click OK, and it should pop up for you in the data tab. All right, I'm going to select data analysis tool, and I'm going to scroll down and find the t-test for two sample assuming unequal variances, just in case my variances for both of my groups are not equal. This is sort of a safeguard so you don't get false results. All right, so I'm going to click OK. And for that first variable, I need my grouping variable, the one with the two groups. All right, so select the arrow, and then we're going to select the variable for that gender recode, including the title. Uh-oh, I have a blank row down here. If you have a blank row, don't select it. I don't want to select that. I don't know why that is. I'm gonna go ahead and select that again. Select gender recode and just go to the end there and not select that bottom blank row. I don't know why it's coming up for me, but it shouldn't be. All right. All right. And then I'm gonna, for the second variable, my continuous variable, I'm gonna put the likelihood of others getting rich in there. So I'm gonna select that arrow. And same thing, don't select that bottom blank row, but start at the title and go down to the end of the data and then stop. Don't get that blank row. There's some kind of issue going on there. All right. Now, it wants hypothesis mean difference. If you remember, the null hypothesis states that there is no difference between the groups, right? So there should, if if they're both the same and my treatment or whatever it is that the experiment is exposing them to made no difference, or if there's just no difference between the groups, the mean difference or the difference between the means should be 0. So we'll put 0. In some instances, the researcher might know that there is a difference between the groups, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there's a statistically significant significance behind it, right? So maybe I know that on average, usually girls select like a point higher than the guys, but that's not abnormal, right? I want to know when it's abnormal. So I might say, let's say there's usually about a 1 point difference. I would put a 1 there. But in this case, it is 0. We don't expect there to be a difference between guys' opinions or girls' opinions, between the likelihood of getting others getting rich. All right, and when we did select our data, we did include the label, so we go ahead and put that in there. And we're going to say that alpha is at a 0.05 level, and we're going to select the radial dial for output range. Click and tell it where to put the data. So we're going to select that arrow. I'm going to scroll up to the top there. I want to put it in that T row. That's good enough for me. And then I'm going to click OK. All right. Maybe I can get this to, and what I'm doing when I go up here and make them bigger, I go to the end of a column until I see my cursor turn into this symbol here, and I double click. So it expands to fit the data. All right, so you can do that too. It's just a quick move. I do it so quickly. Some of you may not notice what is going on here. All right, so what's this telling me? All right, well, we can see we're getting information for gender recode and the likelihood of others getting rich in the first 3 rows. It's telling us what the mean is for each, for the gender one and for the others getting rich, their variances and how many there are. There are 38 for each. All right, so that's N for gender and the N for likelihood. The other thing is, so if the mean for gender is, remember, males are 1s, females are 2s. And this mean is a little closer than the 2 than the 1, right? So it'd be closer to a 1 if there were more males. Since this is actually more than halfway towards the 2s, as far as it reaching a 2, it means there are slightly more females in this class. That's sort of how you read that. All right, and on average, all the class scored the likelihood of others getting rich at about 40, from a scale of 0 to 100. All right, and then the rest of it is, it gives me the degrees of freedom, n minus 1, which is 37. All right, and then you'll notice some of these values have something called E-14. This is telling me that there's so many decimal points here that this is an exponential figure. We don't want that. We want the actual figure. So we need to reduce the number of decimal points in our output here to get the correct number. So I'm just going to highlight all this data and reduce it to about 2 decimal points, okay? And so I'm going to highlight that, go to the Home tab, and in that number grouping, select decrease decimal until we get to about 2 spaces there. Voila. And now you can see our results are different, right? And they're giving us the t statistic, right? And then they're giving us the p-value for a one-tailed test and a p-value for a two-tailed test. And they're also giving us the critical value for each of them, right? So you can actually read this by looking at the t-statistic and determining if it's falls on the outside bounds. The critical value falls on the outside bounds of that if the t-statistic is falling on the outside bounds of the critical value, right? And it does. And you can see that here because we are getting significance of 0.05 or less for our p-values on both accounts, on the one-tailed and the two-tailed test, right? So there is a significant difference between males and females. If you wanted to visually see how much of a difference that is, you'd probably create you'd either calculate the means for your two separate groups, males and then females, or you could do a real quick bar chart. And we could go ahead and do that. Highlight a cell below it, go to Insert, Pivot Table, select all your data. Hopefully you guys are getting quicker at this. You're learning Excel and getting better at it. And I'm going to go ahead and select all the data in here. I probably don't have to, but why not? Don't select that bottom row. All right. And then I'm going to put it on, I got to highlight where I want to place that. And it is right there that I want it. And then I'm going to select add this data to the data model and click OK. All right. And then now I'm going to take that gender at birth, put it in the rows. And I'm going to select likelihood of others getting rich and drag it into values. It's summing it. I don't want to sum it, so I'm going to click on that, select value field settings. I want the average, so I can get the mean for each group and click OK. And now you can see it's giving the mean. I'm going to highlight that, reduce the number of decimal points to 2. All right, and it looks like females scored much higher than males. They have a more optimistic view of others getting rich than males do. I wonder why. That's interesting. But let's do a quick chart. Highlight female and male and their means. Go to Insert. Find the charts groupings. Find the bar charts. Select that first one, and it'll plop out a bar chart for both the males and the females. Voila. You can play with this. Remember, we can add information to this by going to design while that chart is highlighted. Go to add chart element, and I want to put data labels, and I'm going to select outside end so I can see what their means are. And now we can see, right? We can visually see why there is a significant difference between the both. All right, save this Excel file and in a place where you can find it, and this is what you'll turn in for this week's exercise. And real quick, we're going to go ahead and do independent samples t-test in SPSS. It's a very easy process. That's why I kind of saved it for last. It goes real quick. So go ahead and find your downloads folder and open up that SPSS file real quick. All right. And I'm going to turn off that first splash screen. And then I will minimize the output. I don't want to see that. All right, and I'm going to make comparisons between the same two comparisons. Okay, so go to Analyze, and then Compare Means, Independent Samples t-test. And I'm going to find that likelihood of others getting rich variable. I scroll down to the bottom and I put it in that top box. And then I'm going to find gender recode. Make sure it's your gender recode. It will not calculate if you use the text data. Put it into the grouping variable. Now we have to define the groups. We have to tell SPSS what the numbers represent the two groups, right? When we recoded the data, we called males 1s and females 2s. All right, so click Define Groups, and it has guessed accurately that one group is a 1 and the other group is a 2. Sometimes that's not always the case. It'll be blank, or it'll say like zeros. It'll say something that's not accurate. Say this was a yes and no question, and I gave no's zeros and yeses ones, then I would have to put in 0 and 1 here, if that's what I coded them to be. All right, so click continue. Options is where we can set the alpha level. If I had an alpha level of 0.01 or less, I would have to put a confidence interval of 99% here. But we are doing alpha level 0.05, so we'll leave it at 95% and click continue, and then click OK. And here's our results. All right, so we have now SPSS does give the means for our males and our females, as well as the number of people in each group, their standard deviations and standard error of the mean. So they give us our descriptive statistics in the first box. Then this is the one we're really interested in. We want to know if they're statistically different, right? And you'll notice in your version of SPSS, it could likely be an older version. Maybe it's a newer version, depending on, which version of SPSS you ended up getting. You might see as two columns that say SIG over it. And you won't see something that looks like this, where it says significance and then one-sided and two-sided. If that's the case, when it says on the second column SIG, it's just giving you the results of a two-sided test. Older versions of SPSS did not provide a one-sided test. All right, so what does this first box mean where it says SIG? Well, this is looking at Levine's test for equality of variances. So it's looking for equal variances in each of my groups, males and females, to see if they're equal. And you can see the variances are huge, right? This is quite different from males than it is for females. And if this test is 0.05 or less, it is saying that their test for equal variances is significant, meaning they are not equal. It kind of doesn't, it doesn't sort of compute, right? You do not want this to be significant in this case. You want your variables to be equal, but if this is significant, it's stating that they're not equal. And mine is 0.05 or less. So thankfully, SPSS will sort of adjust degrees of freedom and do a second test for unequal variances so that you can still see if there's a significance between your two differences or your two groups. So if this is significant for you, you look down on the second row and then look for the significance test between your two groups. And I'm going to look, say we did a one-sided test, maybe. If in this case, if it was a one-sided t-test, then since it's 0.03, which is less than 0.05, that means it was significant. There is significant difference between the males and females. If it was a two-sided test, it just missed it. It's 0.06. It's just slightly higher than 0.05 or less. So I could not say there's a significant difference between males and females and their ideas of whether others will get rich or not are any different, right? So it depends on what test. All right, so for this, if making sure that you're still in your output viewer, you're gonna go to File, export it as a Word document, save it where you can find it, maybe in your Downloads folder, and you can maybe name it week 10 T test. All right, and that's what you will turn in for this week's exercise. And I will see you next time.